Welcome to the hexagon series. This week we're going to be making this lovely little hexagon, and we're going to be using I'm going to be using the light blue colour, this colour for the demo, and then at the end of the video we're going to join our hexagon to these two hexagons that we already joined in the last video. So I will be joining the purple one so that I don't have the two light blues next to each other. But like I said, for the demo, I'll be using the light blue with a 5mm hook. So let's get started. To begin, we're going to make a double magic circle and then chain one. So for the first round, we're going to make 12 US doubles, UK trebles, yeah, and they're all going to be made into this double magic circle. So for my starting stitch, I like to make a US single, UK double, and then a chain one, and that counts as my first stitch. If you prefer, you can do chain two, or whichever your preferred method to make a starting stitch is. So we're now going to make 11 US doubles, UK trebles, into that double magic circle. Let me just pull those tight around the circle so I've got more room to work. So I've got, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, snagged the yarn, split the yarn, sorry, 11. I'm just going to check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So for stitch number 12, I'm just going to start the stitch by pulling through 2 loops and then leaving 2 loops on the hook. And I'm going to tighten up my circle before I finish that last stitch. So pull on your tail end, see which loop starts to tighten first and take hold of that loop that started to tighten up and pull that one tight to close your circle, and then pull the tail to finish the circle. So I like to take my tail in front of the working yarn but behind the hook and then finish the stitch. Yeah, I'm then going to slip stitch into that first full US double that we made, UK treble, and then that slip stitch goes over the top of the starting stitch to finish off. So that's how your work should look at the end of round 1. For round 2, we're going to make 12 cluster stitches. So we're going to make a cluster stitch into each of these stitches that we've just made. We're going to be using 2 US doubles or UK trebles for each cluster. So we're going to chain 1 to begin, and then going into that stitch we're going to make, well, I'm going to make a US single and then a chain 1, that's a UK double and chain 1, and then a full stitch. As before, if you prefer to chain 2 you can, and then that just counts as my first cluster. We're then going to chain 1, and into the next stitch we're going to start our first US double, UK treble, just pulling through 2 loops. We keep 2 loops on the hook, and then we yarn over and go back into the stitch. We've now got 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, chain 1. So we've now got 2 clusters. So So we're going to go along and make a cluster, 2-stitch cluster into each stitch, so that at the end of the round we have 12 clusters and 12 chain 1 spaces. Yeah, so cluster, chain 1, cluster, chain 1. And if you're making along, you can press pause if you want, and I'll see you at the end of the round. So I'm just coming up to the end of the round. I'm just going to go into that slip stitch that's counting as the top of that first starting stitch to make my last cluster. Chain 1, and then we're going to slip stitch to finish off. So I like to go into the front of those, it's the chain space and the front of the double that we made, go through that chain 1 space to pull the yarn through, and then pull all the way through, yeah, and then slip stitch into the chain 1 space to finish chain 1. And that's how your work should look at the end of round 2. So for round 3, we're going to make 2 cluster stitches in each chain 1 space, and again there'll be a chain 1 in between each cluster. So I'm going to make my starting cluster the same as before. I've already chained 1, so I'm just going to make that US single, UK double, chain 1, and then a US double or UK treble if you prefer, and then chain 1. And I'm then going to make a second cluster stitch into that chain 1 space. So it's 2 US doubles together or 2 UK trebles together, and chain 1. And we're then going to hop across to the next chain 1 space, and we're going to make again 2 cluster stitches in there with chain 1 after each cluster. Yeah. So at the end of the round we will have 24 stitches in total, 24 clusters with 24 chain 1 spaces. There's chain 1 there. So go ahead, if you're making along, go ahead and make 2 stitches in each chain 1 space, 2 cluster stitches with a chain 1 in between each cluster stitch. Yeah, so if you're making along, you can press pause, and I'll see you at the end of the round. So I've just made my last cluster. I'm now going to slip stitch again into the front of that first cluster, into that chain, and then into the front of the stitch, through the chain 1 space, pull the yarn through, and then pull all the way through. I'm then going to slip stitch into the chain 1 space and chain 1, and that's how your work should look at the end of round 3. It's pretty, isn't it? I like it. I like these circles. So we're now going to turn our circle into a hexagon for the last round, round 4. So I always like to start in the corner, so we're going to make our last stitch, as it were, on the last edge. So we're going to make, I'm going to do the same as I've done before to make a US double, UK treble. I'm going to make a US single and chain 1, and then chain 1 for the corner. We're then going to hop across into the next chain 1 space, and we're going to make 2 US doubles, that's UK trebles, and then into the next chain 1 space we're going to make 2 US half doubles or UK half trebles. Yeah, if you're not sure how to make a half stitch, I'll show you in this next one, because we're going to make 2 more. So you yarn over, go in, pull your yarn through, you've got 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and we're going to make a second one in that chain 1 space, and then into the next chain 1 space we're going to make 2 US doubles, UK trebles, and chain 1 for the next corner. So that's our repeat. Yeah, there's 4 groups of stitches across 4 chain 1 spaces. We've got 2 doubles, 2 halves, 2 halves, 2 doubles, or if you're using UK terms, that'll be 2 trebles, 2 halves, 2 halves, 2 trebles. Yeah, so we're going to repeat that. So we've chained 1. We're now going to go into the next chain 1 space and make 2 US doubles, UK trebles. Let me just get some slack on the yarn. We're then going to make 2 half stitches into the next chain 1 space. Into the next chain 1 space, another 2 half stitches. And then into the next space we make 2 US doubles or UK trebles. Chain 1 for the corner. So we've now, you see how that corner's now there. Yeah, it's clever, isn't it? I love the way you can change shapes with crochet. So that's your repeat. If you're making along, you can press pause and go ahead. We'll have another 4 edges to go, and I'll see you at the end of the round. So I've just made my last 2 half stitches. I'm now back at where we started. So we just made 1 stitch into that chain 1 space. So we're now going to make the second stitch, which is a US double, UK treble. And then I'm going to slip stitch into that chain space to finish off. I'm going to chain 2. And that's how your work should look at the end of all 4 rounds. I'm just going to cut the yarn, grab the scissors, and then pull the hook out. Yeah, I like to tighten those 2 chains up. And there it is. So that's the same as the purple one. So let's join this purple onto these 2 that we've already joined together in the first week. So in the first video, I think we did this one. We just did that 5th round. And then in the second video, we joined this hexagon. So now we're going to join this purple hexagon to complete those 3. So to join, we're going to be using the granny stitch, which is sets of 2 US doubles, UK trebles. So they're all US doubles, UK trebles. So I will just say stitch rather than keep having to switch back and forth. I know it gets a bit confusing. So take your joining colour and make a slip knot. And you can attach that to whichever corner you want on your on the motif you've just made. So I'm going to go into here. We're going so into the corner stitch, yeah. Make a slip knot. Make sure you pull that tight. So we're going to make a starting stitch, yeah, same as we have been. However you like to do that. And then to join, we're making chain 2 in the corners. So 2 chains. We're then going to make 2 more stitches to finish off this corner. Remember, they're all US doubles, UK trebles. Yeah, we're now going to skip 2 stitches and we're going to make 2 stitches in between the stitches, yeah. Skip 2 stitches and you're going to go in between the stitches. Make 2 more stitches. again, skip 2 stitches, go in between the stitches. Make sure you don't get your tails caught up. And now we're at the corner, so we're going to make 2 stitches. I'm weaving over my tail now, or crocheting over it rather. Chain 2, and then 2 more stitches into the corner. I'm now going to skip 2 stitches, make 2 stitches. I'm going to let go of that tail now. Oops, I split the yarn. Let me try again. Skip 2 stitches, going in between the stitches, make 2 more stitches. Skip 2 stitches, go in between. And we're at the next corner. So we can't use this last edge to join because we've already started the corner there. So we are going to be joining these 2, yeah? So we're just going to go along, make this last edge before we start joining. So we're going to chain 2 and then make 2 stitches. I've made a mistake. We're not ready, we're not at the corner yet, are we? So let's go into the corner, make 2 stitches. Now we can chain 2 and then make 2 more stitches. Skip 2 stitches, go in between the stitches to make 2 stitches. Skip 2, in between, make 2 more. Skip 2, in between, make 2 more. So we're now at the first corner that we're going to join. So we're going to make those first 2 stitches. So we're going to join here. So we're going to go into this light blue corner first. So we're going to chain 1 and then we are going to, so we always go back to back, wrong sides facing when we're joining, yeah? We're going to go into the corner, back to front, pull the yarn through and slip stitch. Pull that tight and chain 1. So these are the joining motifs and this is the working motif, yeah? So after you've chained 1, we're going to make 2 more stitches into the corner of the working motif. And we're then going to slip stitch into the next, so we've just slip stitched into the corner, we're going to go in between in that gap of the next 2. So you skip 2, go back to front, pull the yarn through and slip stitch, yarn over, we don't chain here, skip 2 stitches on the working motif and go in between to make 2 stitches. Yeah, we're then going to go into the joining motif, again back to front, pull the yarn through, slip stitch, yarn over, skip 2 stitches on the working motif and we'll go in to make 2 more stitches. Yeah, we're then going to slip stitch into the next space, back to front, pull the yarn through and slip stitch, pull it tight, yarn over, back into the working motif, skip 2 stitches, and we're going to make 2 more stitches. And then going to slip stitch into that joining motif, back to front, slip stitch, yarn over, and we're now, I'm just grabbing some slack, we're now at the corner. Yeah, so we're going to make 2 stitches into the corner, we are going to chain 1. So we are going to, if you look at your work, yeah, where you've already joined them, we're going to go into that space there. Yeah, so we're going to go again back to front and then pull the yarn through. So it's around the slip stitch that you made to join those 2 motifs together. Yeah, pull through the yarn, pull tight, and then chain 1. And we're now going to go back into the corner of the working motif to make 2 more stitches to finish that corner off. So let's just lay the work out so that you can see. I'm just going to pull that so I can take the hook out of the way. So you can see we've joined along the edge and now we've joined into the corner. Yeah. So we're now going to be joining onto this dark blue motif hexagon. So we're going to go into, we've already joined the corner, we're going to go in between those 2 stitches, 2 groups of granny stitches. So remember, go back to front, pull the yarn through, pull all the way through to slip stitch, pull tight, and then yarn over, but don't chain. We're going to skip 2 stitches and go into in between the stitches, make 2 stitches, and then again back to front in between the 2 granny groups, pull the yarn through, yarn over, skip 2 stitches and go in between the stitches to make 2 stitches. Let me just grab some slack. So we're now going to slip stitch onto the blue motif again, back to front in between the next set of granny stitches, all the way through, pull tight, yarn over. We're then going to go in between, skip 2, go in between, make 2 stitches. In between the next, in the next space, we're going to slip stitch, yarn over, and we're at the next corner. So we're going to make 2 stitches, chain 1, and then slip stitch into the corner of the blue motif, back to front, pull the yarn through all the way, pull tight, chain 1. So those are now, all 3 are now completely joined, and we're just going to finish off this purple motif. So we're going to make 2 more stitches into the corner, skip 2 stitches, go in between the stitches and make 2 stitches, skip 2 stitches, go in between the stitches and make 2 stitches, skip 2 stitches, go in between the stitches and make 2 stitches. And we're now where we started. We just made 1 stitch there. Well, we made 3 stitches for the corner, we need 4 altogether, so we're just going to make that last stitch into the corner and then slip stitch into the chain space to finish. Chain 2. And there we have it. We have 3 hexagons joined together. So I hope you liked that video, and I'll see you in the next one.